Welcome back to Storytime Boulevard, your destination to sleep. My name is Andrew, and as always, I'm honored to be here with you tonight. In this evening's tale, we'll return to the heart of a mystical forest, wrapped in twilight and stillness, a place called Nymwood. There, we'll walk beside a quietly brave girl named Stella, who carries the rare gift of singing peace into the world. Her journey takes us into the hush of the woods, through meadows of dreaming flowers, and into the very soul of a restless, forgotten dream. The story is called The Sleepy Hollow of Nymwood, and it's a tale of softness, mystery, and finding rest even in the wildest of places. But before we begin, let's take a moment to unwind. Find a comfortable position, whether you're nestled beneath your blankets, resting in your favorite chair, or simply letting the night cradle you. Close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath in, and gently exhale. Let's do that again. Inhale, filling your lungs with calm, and exhale, releasing the weight of the day. Now quietly repeat to yourself, I am safe. I am at peace. I am ready to rest. Let your body soften. Let your thoughts slow, and allow this moment to simply be still. Now let's begin our journey. In the heart of an ancient land, where the sky always wore the soft glow of twilight, and the air was laced with the scent of moss and moonlight, there existed a forest unlike any other. This was Nymwood, a place where time wandered sleepily between the trees, and the shadows never sharpened. Here, silence was a friend, and dreams floated like fireflies just out of reach. And in a cozy grove, tucked between a crescent of willow trees and a stone pond that shimmered like stardust, lived a girl named Stella. She was young by the forest's standards, not as old as the whispering oaks, nor as ancient as the river stones, but her spirit carried the quiet strength of a lullaby. Stella had hair like dark silk, and eyes that shimmered like soft candlelight. Her voice, when she sang, could soothe even the most restless of things, because Stella had a gift. She was born with the ability to calm wandering spirits, lost memories, and wild dreams, simply by singing to them. Her songs weren't grand or complex. They were warm and slow, like the first yawn after a long day, or the way the stars blink sleepily overhead. Every evening, just before the hollow exhaled its deepest sigh of night, Stella would walk the worn forest paths barefoot, her fingertips brushing against the petals of sleep bloom flowers. She would hum to the moss, to the trees, to the hush between breezes, and the forest would listen. That night, however, something felt different. The air, usually as soft as woven wool, felt unsettled. A hush lingered, not in the way of sleep, but in the way of waiting. Stella paused near the edge of the velvet veil, where the wind usually carried her song across the meadow. Tonight, the wind had stopped. Even the leaves seemed to be holding their breath. She closed her eyes and placed a hand on the trunk of a tree that always greeted her, an old ash with bark like velvet. It was trembling ever so slightly, as if trying to speak without words. A dream was stirring, but not the kind that wandered gently through the woods before curling into sleep. No, this one was different, restless, rootless, unseen. Stella felt it tug at her chest, the way only wild dreams could. Not frightening, but aching. It felt like a memory that didn't know where it belonged. She hummed softly, a tune she'd learned long ago from the brook that curled behind her home. The trees swayed in response, but it did not calm the feeling in her chest. Something had entered Nymwood, or awakened within it, and it was not at peace. Stella looked to the path beyond the vale, where the trees grew tall and twilight deepened into indigo. She didn't know what she would find there, only that it was waiting for her. And so, with her song tucked close to her heart, she stepped into the deeper forest, and the story truly began. The velvet veil unfolded before Stella, like a dream half remembered, wide and hushed, draped in soft moss that glowed faintly in the twilight. The air smelled of rain that hadn't fallen yet, and the ground gave beneath her steps like the folds of a thick quilt. This was the quietest part of Nymwood, save for the gentle hum of sleep bloom petals slowly turning toward the sky. Here, even the breeze moved with care, as if afraid to wake the very earth. Stella made her way to the center of the vale, where a great tree rose from the moss like a tower of time itself. Its trunk was broad and woven with silver vines, its bark worn smooth from centuries of touch. This was elder thistle, a tree being so ancient that even the stones beneath him grew still in his presence. "Elder," Stella whispered, placing her palm against the warm bark. "Something is stirring. The wind has stopped. The roots are uneasy." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, from deep within the tree's core, came a soft, creaking voice, like wood bending in a slow breeze. "I have felt it too, little one." The sound of Elder Thistle's voice was like a lullaby all its own, slow measured and filled with a weight that calmed the bones. A dream, he continued, not born of peace, nor woven from rest. It trembles beneath the soil, not above, below. Below, Stella echoed, her brow furrowing. In the hollow. The hollow was a sacred part of Nymwood, an unseen realm beneath the forest floor, where the slumbering ones rested. They were ancient spirits, older than even elder thistle, wrapped in layers of dream and time. They hadn't stirred in centuries. Elder Thistle gave a deep groan, the kind that rumbled through his roots and echoed up into his branches. This dream does not walk the surface. It has taken root in the places we dare not go. It grows like ivy through memory, twisting toward the hollow. Stella sat at the base of the tree, the moss welcoming her like a cradle. She listened to the soft rustling of the petals around her, the distant coo of a dream dove flying low, the hush of a forest caught in its breath. "I need to find it," she said quietly, "before it grows stronger, before it wakes the ones below." Elder Thistle didn't speak for a long while. When he did, it was with a tone touched by sorrow. "You'll need help, child of song. Go to the shadowed edge of the vale, where twilight deepens and silence thickens. There you'll find Larkspur. He knows how to follow dreams that do not wish to be followed." Stella stood, brushing dew from her skirt. "Thank you, Elder." "Be gentle with what you find, Stella," the tree whispered. "Even wild dreams once longed to be held." With that, the grove fell quiet once more. The sleep blooms turned back toward the sky. The moss sighed beneath her feet, and Stella stepped beyond the veil into the deeper shadows of Nymwood, where songs were swallowed and dreams took flight. The deeper Stella walked into the forest, the thicker the air became, not heavy or dark, but dense, with the kind of stillness that made every sound feel sacred. Even her footsteps, usually quiet as breath, now seemed to echo between the trees. This was the shadowed edge, where even the twilight hesitated. The trees here grew taller, their trunks wrapped in ribbons of silver moss, and their leaves whispering in languages forgotten by day. Beneath them, glowing fungi pulsed softly, lighting Stella's path in muted blue and violet. And then, just ahead, something shimmered. At first, it looked like stardust caught in a breeze, but as Stella stepped closer, she saw the gentle flutter of wings, wide, delicate, and patterned like dusk. The wings belonged to a moth, but not an ordinary one. This was Larkspur, the sleep moth. He hovered just above the forest floor, his wings trailing sleepy sparks that vanished as quickly as dreams upon waking. His eyes wide and luminous, held the quiet of an entire night sky. "Stella," he said, his voice like a whisper through linen. "You've come." Stella nodded. "There's a dream. It's not at rest. Elder Thistle sent me." Larkspur tilted his head. "I know the one. It passed here not long ago, chasing something it had no name for." He floated closer, and with a gentle flick of his wings, let a shimmering thread of memory drift down between them. "I tried to follow it," he said, "but it left no path, only silence, and—" He hesitated, his wings dimming slightly. "It took something, a note from your song." Stella's heart skipped. "One of my lullabies?" Larkspur nodded. "A single note, but a powerful one. The one you hum when you're trying not to cry." Stella felt the hollow in her chest grow wider. That note, a thread of longing she often wove into her songs, was something deeply personal, tender, raw. If the dream had taken it, it wasn't trying to harm, it was trying to feel. "Where did it go?" she asked. Larkspur hovered backward, drifting just above a fallen log wrapped in moonvine. "Toward Moonpetal Marsh. But the waters are restless there. It won't let you in unless you carry something honest." "Honest?" Stella asked. Larkspur's wings glowed faintly again. "Yes, dreams don't lie, Stella. They may confuse, or twist, or forget, but they never lie. If you want to reach it, you must sing with the part of you that still aches." Stella bowed her head, letting the silence settle between them. Then Larkspur reached beneath one of his wings and drew out a single glowing feather, soft and silver blue, like the last light before sleep. "Take this," he said. "It will help you cross." She accepted it gently, tucking it into the satchel at her side. "Thank you, Larkspur." The moth bowed mid-air, then faded slowly into the glimmering shadows, leaving behind the faint scent of lavender and rain. With the feather in hand and her heart heavy with unsung notes, Stella turned toward Moonpetal Marsh. The dream was waiting. Moonpetal Marsh glowed softly at the edge of the forest, like a breath held just before sleep. The waters stretched wide and still, wrapped in drifting mist and dotted with lily-like flowers that opened only beneath the gaze of moonlight. Each bloom shone faintly, blues, silvers, and pale lavender, their petals trembling, as if listening for something. Stella stepped lightly onto a root bridge woven from willow limbs and moss. Beneath her, the water shimmered, reflecting not the sky above, but something deeper, memories, fragments, forgotten dreams. One moment she saw a child's laughter floating beneath the surface. The next, a melody she'd sung only once. This place knew her. She reached for the glowing feather Larkspur had gifted her. As her fingers brushed it, the marsh exhaled, a long, slow breeze that carried the scent of wild mint and sleepy jasmine. She stepped fully onto the marsh's path. As she walked, soft chimes began to echo from the distance, not metal, but the chorus of the frogs that lived here. Their croaks rang like gentle bells, tuned to memory. Each note tugged at something inside her, like hands pulling her toward the heart of the marsh. Then, the flowers began to part. From the mist emerged a faint glow, a trail of footprints pressed gently into the water's surface, each step leaving a shimmer behind. But no one was there. The prints weren't heavy like a creature's. They were weightless, like longing. Stella followed. She passed sleeping reeds that curled like cats, and cattails that whispered lullabies when the wind kissed them. The deeper she went, the quieter the world became, until even her own breathing felt like an echo. Then she saw it. In the center of the marsh, floating just above the water's surface, pulsed a cluster of light. Not bright, but rhythmic, like a heartbeat trying to find its rhythm. Around it swirled the wild dream's presence, not solid, but felt. It wasn't a figure. It was a feeling, an ache wrapped in silence, a song left unsung, a dream that had once been tender, but was never given a name. Stella stepped forward and opened her mouth, not to speak, but to hum. It wasn't the full lullaby, just the beginning. A note so simple, so quietly vulnerable, that it made the mist lean in to listen. It was the first part of the song she always sang when her heart felt heavy, the one that had been taken. And then the cluster of light began to shift. It shimmered brighter for a moment, then dimmed as though uncertain, like a child peeking out from behind a curtain. But Stella didn't press. She kept humming, one note, then another. The song didn't demand to be heard. It simply offered to be known. The wild dream trembled, then slowly, like dew returning to a leaf. The note that had been taken came back to her, floating through the air and settling gently into her heart. The dream had not stolen it. It had needed it. Stella bowed her head and whispered, "You are not forgotten." The dream quieted. The light dimmed to a warm glow and slowly drifted down into the water, where it rested peacefully among the moon petals. The surface of the marsh stilled. The frogs began their song again, softer this time, content. Stella turned from the water's edge. The dream was no longer running. It had found somewhere to rest. But something told her the journey wasn't quite over. Stella emerged from the edge of Moon Petal Marsh with the softness of its waters still clinging to her skin and song. The air grew lighter now, not quite as still, not quite as heavy, as though the forest itself had exhaled in relief. But deep within her, she knew the dream's lull wasn't the end. It was only a part of its story. Somewhere beyond the reeds and sleep bloom vines lived a spirit who made mischief out of moonlight and riddles out of rest. Willow, the lullaby thief. No one in Nymwood quite knew where Willow lived. She was never in the same place twice. Some said she was made of laughter, stolen from dreams. Others whispered that she was once a lullaby herself, one that became too curious to stay quiet. But Stella had met her once, years ago, when she was just learning how to sing peace into the world. Willow had stolen the ending of a song and returned it only after Stella had giggled for the first time in weeks. So now Stella did what she knew worked best. She sang a question, just a few notes, sweet and strange, with a curious tilt, like asking a riddle without using words. And sure enough, the wind picked it up, carried it between the leaves, and rustled the branches in playful reply. A shimmer flashed between two trees, then a flicker, then a giggle, and then she appeared. Willow stood just above the ground, her toes not quite touching the moss. Her hair was made of wind knots and feathers, her eyes glowing like fireflies that knew secrets. She wore a cloak stitched from dreams that never finished. Flashes of lullabies, scraps of memory, patches of moonlight. "You always find me when you hum in riddles," she said with a grin that tugged the twilight sideways. "I didn't come to scold," Stella replied, "only to ask." Willow twirled mid-air, letting out a dramatic sigh. "If it's about the dream, I borrowed the note, yes, but not for myself. For the dream." Willow stopped spinning. Her voice grew quiet. It came looking, searching for something soft, something it had lost before it ever existed. It wandered and wandered until it found your song. It curled up inside that note, like it finally found a home. Stella felt the ache return, but this time it was gentler, like sadness that knew it was allowed to rest. "What is it?" she asked. "What is the dream?" Willow floated down and perched on a crooked branch. "It was never sung," she said, "never rocked to sleep, never whispered into the night. It's the dream of someone who didn't know they were allowed to dream." A hush fell between them. Willow plucked a petal from her cloak and handed it to Stella. It glowed faintly, flickering like candlelight inside a child's blanket fort. This is the piece it left behind. You'll need it to finish your song. Stella took it gently. It was warm. I thought you stole lullabies for fun, she said with a soft smile. I do, Willow grinned, but only the ones that want to be found again. With that, the spirit vanished in a swirl of silver giggles and soft wind, leaving behind nothing but the scent of honey and the echo of a rhyme half sung. Stella held the petal close to her heart. There was one place left to go now. One place where the wildest, deepest dreams were held in slumber. The drowsy glade. And she would need every note, every truth, and every thread of song she had left to reach it. The path to the drowsy glade was barely a path at all, more of a memory than a trail. Winding between silent birch trees and clusters of sleep thistle that glowed with a blue so soft it barely existed. This was the quietest part of Nymwood. Even the wind chose not to stir here. Even the moonlight dimmed, as if not wishing to wake what slumbered below. Stella walked carefully, each step like the beat of a heart trying not to disturb the hush. In her satchel, the petal Willow had given her shimmered gently, pulsing in rhythm with the lullaby she hadn't yet finished. The deeper she went, the thicker the dream mist became. Not a fog, but something lighter, softer. It clung to the branches like whispered goodbyes and floated just above the moss like sleeping thoughts. At the heart of the glade, the earth dipped into a natural hollow, wrapped in glowing vines and ringed by ancient stones. And there, resting like pearls inside soft petals of time, were the slumbering ones. They were not shaped like humans, nor animals, nor spirits. They were simply essence, swirls of light, curls of shadow, and sighs too old to name. They pulsed with the rhythm of deep rest. And just above them, spiraling slowly in the air like a leaf caught in a dream, was the wild dream. It hovered in silence, its glow dimmer now, softer. It no longer shimmered with unrest. It seemed tired, as though it had searched for so long, it had forgotten what it was searching for. Stella stepped to the edge of the hollow and gently reached into her satchel. The moon feather from larkspur, the petal from willow, the missing note returned to her heart, and her voice, steady, warm, quietly brave. She closed her eyes and began to sing. This time, the lullaby was whole. It began with ache, as all honest songs do. It spoke of longing and wandering, of things unsaid and dreams unloved. Then it shifted into softness, into holding, into a space where being forgotten didn't mean being unworthy. And finally, it ended in stillness. Not silence, but stillness. The kind that happens when something is finally allowed to rest. The wild dream floated down, slow as snow, and nestled at the feet of the slumbering ones. As it touched the moss, it folded into itself, not vanishing, but settling, like a petal on water, like breath released. The glade pulsed once. A ripple of calm spread outward, brushing every leaf, every vine, every hidden spirit tucked between the roots of Nymwood. Even the stars seemed to blink more slowly. The slumbering ones stirred, not in wakefulness, but in response. One of them released a long, gentle sigh, and just like that, the hollow breathed again. Stella stood still for a long while, letting the hush settle around her like a shawl. Her song was finished, not because she had run out of melody, but because it had found its ending. She turned, and with one last glance toward the resting dream, began the slow walk home through the twilight, through the hush, through the forest that now sang quietly with her. And as she walked, the glade whispered one final truth behind her. Even the dreams that wander furthest just want to come home. The path from the drowsy glade was lit not by lanterns or moonlight, but by something quieter, a feeling of peace that lingered in the air like the last verse of a lullaby. It moved through Nymwood slowly, folding itself into the leaves, curling around the roots and settling into the soil. The hollow had exhaled, and the forest, after what felt like an age, was no longer holding its breath. Stella walked in silence. Her voice, so often her guide, was resting now. The song she'd carried, the one stitched together from sorrow and softness, had done what it was meant to do. The wild dream was no longer lost. It had found its place. As she passed the velvet veil, the sleep blooms turned toward her, their petals brushing one another in quiet applause. Elder Thistle gave a low hum from beneath the moss, his roots sinking just a little deeper into the earth, content. Near the edge of the shadowed grove, Larkspur drifted down from above, his wings trailing moonlight. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. He simply dipped once in the air, a bow of respect, then disappeared once more into the mist. And though Willow did not appear, a single feather from her cloak fluttered down from the trees above and landed softly in Stella's palm. A gift, or perhaps a promise. By the time she reached her grove, her little circle of quiet beneath the willows, the stars were blinking slower, as if they too had grown drowsy from the night's gentle unraveling. Stella knelt beside her pond, now still and clear. She dipped her fingers into the water and watched as the ripples spread, each one a soft echo of the journey behind her. Not all dreams were easy. Some were restless. Some were forgotten. Some arrived without names or stories. But all, in the end, wanted the same thing: to be seen, to be soothed, to be sung back home. She lay down on a bed of moss, curled her arms beneath her head, and let the hush of Nymwood surround her. Her breath slowed, her thoughts softened, and as she drifted into sleep, the forest whispered back its thanks in the rustling of leaves, in the gentle hum of stones, in the silence that only ever follows peace. The end. Thank you, gentle dreamer, for joining us tonight on Storytime Boulevard. We're so glad you wandered with us through the quiet paths of Nymwood. As you drift into sleep, may your night be calm, your breathing slow, and your dreams wrapped in kindness. May you wake tomorrow with softness in your spirit, and just a touch of starlight still in your heart. From all of us here at Storytime Boulevard, sleep well, and remember, you are never too far from the place that remembers you. Good night.